What is the good word, sirs and dolls? My name is Frank Alexander, and this is FraxTech. Today I'm going to be showing you how to install Windows 10 Technical Preview in a virtual machine so you don't have to worry about overriding your current operating system to try out what's coming down the pipe from Microsoft. Now this is going to be kind of a long video, so I am going to ask you to bear with me, but if you do want to jump ahead, I am going to have some links in the description down below to certain parts of the video. So if there's something you already know, you can jump ahead, or if there's something you're looking for particular help on, you may be able to find it there. Also down in the description, you'll find all the necessary links that we'll be using today to download both the virtual machine and the Windows 10 Technical Preview. So with that, let's go ahead and jump down to the desktop view and get started. Alright guys, so here we are on the PC desktop, and the first thing I want to throw up is the links that we'll be using today. The links that we'll be using are going to be these two here, the VMware to download the VMware Player, which is a free virtual machine appliance that you can use, and we'll also be downloading the Windows 10 Technical Preview directly from Microsoft. Let's go ahead and bring up those links here. First link we're going to go to is the VMware link, where we're going to download the VMware Player. So once you get to this page, just following the link in the description down below, you'll scroll all the way down and you're looking for this VMware Player. The rest of the VMware software is paid instead of just free versions. The VMware Player, on the other hand, is a free virtual machine appliance for consumers who are not using their virtual machine for business purposes. Now what you'll want to do then is just click on the download product. It's going to take you to the appropriate download page where you'll be able to download the VMware Player for your particular operating system. Now it does show both VMware Player for Windows 64-bit because I am running a 64-bit version of Windows 7. It also shows the VMware Player for Linux 64-bit if I decide I wanted to run it in Linux. From there, go ahead and click the download link for your particular operating system, and then you'll just save that one. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and save this to my OS files, as the only thing I'll be using it for is to run other OSs on top of my Windows 7 install. Now, before I do anything with that, I do want to go ahead and go to the Windows 10 Technical Preview link that's also in the description down below. Now, if you have not registered for the Windows Insider program yet, you will need to go ahead and do that. When you try to go to this link, I'm sure it's going to give you a little pop-up asking you to register. Basically, you're just agreeing with Microsoft. By downloading this, you're going to agree to help them beta test Windows 10. Do you really have to help them in any way, shape, or form? No, it's not a requirement, but it is something they ask for. Anyway, once you've registered, it'll ask you to sign in. I'm already signed in there. And then we're going to download it. So what you need to do is scroll down to the download links, select your particular language, and then decide if you want to do the 64-bit or the x86 or 32-bit version of Windows 10. I've actually already downloaded both of these. As you can see, they're kind of large files, so I really don't want to download them again and take up time in the video. Once we've downloaded both of those, you can actually go ahead and close out of your browser there. Now the next thing I'm going to pull up is the VMware Player installer, which I saved in my iOS files. So I just want to go down to that. Right, here we go. Double click on the installer. Go ahead and click the run. Shrink this folder here. Okay, hit next. Accept the terms and agreements. Next. Next. And check for product updates on startup. Sure, why not? And personally, I don't like to send any kind of information to any company, so I always unclick the help improve yada yada yada. Alright, and I do want to create both a desktop shortcut and a start menu folder, so that's fine, and we'll hit continue. This will run through the install process here. Should take just a couple of minutes to run through. As with anything, your mileage may vary on the install times. And While that runs through the rest of the installation, I'm going to just speed up the video here, and we'll jump to once it is installed and go from there. Alright guys, and there you can see it completed the install. So let's go ahead and close that out and open up VMware Player. Now the first time you open this, it's probably not going to show anything except the home button here in yours. However, I do already have some virtual machines that were set up. I uninstalled VMware Player so that I could run through this full setup process with you. When I reinstalled it, it did detect all the virtual machines I had created before uninstalling it, which is nice. The next thing we're going to want to do is go ahead and click on Create a New Virtual Machine, and that's going to get the process started. Now what you want to do is select the installer disk image file, or ISO file, hit browse. It's going to pop up your file window here, your file explorer window. Navigate to where your Windows 10 preview or technical preview ISO is saved. Click on the one you want. I'm going with the x64, the 64-bit version. The only difference is going to be between those two is that the 32-bit version is not going to recognize anything more than 4 GB of RAM, whereas the x64 version will recognize pretty much whatever you have in your system if you set the virtual machine to do so. Alright, so once we've selected which file we want to install, go ahead and hit open. And then we're going to click Next. You can choose your virtual machine name. You can see it does automatically name it for you. Also, you can choose where your virtual machine would be saved. I'm going to leave it as the default location because that's where I save all of my virtual machines. Go ahead and hit Next. Now, the maximum disk size, it says 60 GB. You can lower that, but tackle that at your own risk. I'm going to leave it at the 60 GB for right now, just to make sure that this install does go smooth. Down at the bottom here, you do have some options of splitting the virtual disk into multiple files or storing it as a single file. Now, I like to store mine as a single file because I'll create them, get rid of them, create new ones, get rid of those. And it's just easier to delete a single file rather than having to go through and remove multiple files. If you are planning on moving this virtual machine to different computers though, the splitting the virtual disk into multiple files can come in handy as it makes it a little bit easier to deal with smaller file size. Alright, once you've decided on that, go ahead and hit Next. Now, what I like to do here is to go ahead and click the Customize Hardware. Alright, and it's going to pop up your hardware box. Now, I am running 16 gigs of RAM in this system, so I'm going to go ahead and bump this up actually to 8 gigs. That'll be available to the virtual machine. For the processors, I'm running an i7 2700K, which is a 4-core, 8-threaded processor. So I could actually go up to 8 on the processing cores, but I'm actually only going to give it 4. The next thing we want to do is you want to make sure that this virtualized Intel virtual CPU performance counters are both checked. Leave the preferred mode as automatic. Now, just one quick note, if you do have any problems with installing the virtual machine, you may have to go into your BIOS and change a setting that allows virtualization within the BIOS. I will have a link in the description down below on to a video that I used that helped me learn how to do that. If you do have problems, follow that link, go watch that video, and then jump back here once you have corrected your BIOS. So once we have that, everything else in the options for the hardware can stay the same. So let's go ahead and click Close and then Finish. That's going to go ahead and create the virtual machine. That will also take just a couple of moments. So I'm going to go ahead and fast forward the video again, and we'll pick back up when that's done. Alright guys, so there you can see it did finish creating the virtual disk, and it jumps straight into installing the Windows 10 technical preview. You will get this update the first time you install a new virtual machine. Go ahead and hit the download and install button. That's just going to install some of the VMware tools that will make working with Windows a little bit easier within the virtual machine. Now I'm going to actually move this out of the way here while I go ahead and do the Windows 10 setup. And you'll notice the first time you click into the virtual machine, you get that little pop-up. If your computer's like mine, where it pops up and tells you if your numlock is on or off, where it just turned the numlock off. So go ahead and turn that back on if you need to. Make sure your language is correct, make sure your currency and time format is correct, and your keyboard. Then we'll hit next and hit install. Now it's going to run through the full Windows 10 setup. This does take quite a bit of time. I'm running on a very heavily overclocked system. The virtual machine's getting 4 of the 8 cores available in my system, and even with that, the last time I tried to do this install, it did take quite a bit of time. So what I'm going to do is once we get to the part where it's actually doing the installs, I'm going to cut the video out and I will jump back in once the install is done. I don't even want to try to quick time through that or fast forward through that because it does take quite a bit of time. So just be prepared. When you get to that point, go ahead and let it run. Go grab a sandwich, grab yourself something to drink, and come back to your computer a little while later because it's going to take some time. First off, just like any Microsoft install though, you are going to have to accept the license terms. We've gotten used to that. Since we are installing this in a virtual machine and you did not have a previous install of Windows on the virtual machine, you are going to need to click the custom install. Even though it says advanced only, don't worry about that, you'll be fine. It should pick up the only drive that is available in the virtual machine. Go ahead and hit next. Alright, and here it's going to start the install process. So like I said, go grab yourself something to drink, sit back and relax because this is going to take some time. I'm going to cut the video here and I'll jump back in once the install is completed. Alright guys, so there you can see the getting files ready for installation finished up. It went through the installing features, went through the installing updates, and now it's going through the finishing up portion of the install. This should only take a couple of minutes if I remember correctly. Oh, there we go, restarting in. And so we'll go ahead, let that go through the restart. Now you will notice down here at the bottom of your virtual machine window, it does say that when you are done and the operating system boots up, click the I have finished. That's going to go ahead and finish setting up the virtual machine around the Windows 10 technical preview build. So let's give it just a couple of moments to boot up here and we'll go over our final thoughts. I'm beginning to wonder if we hadn't gone and gotten a sandwich while Windows 10 was getting ready. Alright guys, so as you can see, the install finally finished. We're ready to walk through the setup on the Windows 10 technical preview. So let's go ahead and run through this. I always use customize. I never like to use express settings, so that's what I'm going to do. Click in the virtual machine and let's click customize. And we're connected to a network. I am on my home network, so I'm going to go ahead and hit yes for home networks. Update your PC apps, automatically get updates for drivers. Yes, automatically update my apps. Sure, why not? Help protect. Yeah, go ahead and leave those on. Send do not track requests. Yes, I definitely like the do not track requests. That's a great inclusion. Check for online solutions. Yes, whenever we're dealing with a technical preview or consumer preview, anything besides the released version, I always like to have that check for online solutions turned on. Now, they help improve Microsoft products. This is completely up to you if you want to send them location data. I do not. I don't like sending out my data to anyone when I'm not the one actually doing it. So I'm going to leave that as off. And to send Microsoft how I use help, I'm also going to leave that off. If you do want to help Microsoft truly develop their technical preview or their consumer preview, you may want to turn that on. That's going to give them a little bit more information to use to try to help and make the actual consumer product better. But once again, don't like sending my personal information, so I'm going to leave that as off. Okay, let's go ahead and hit the next button. Now we're going to run through some other settings here. Search suggestions and web results in the Windows search. I'm going to go ahead and leave that on. That's a new inclusion with Windows 10. It may have actually been in Windows 8. I'll be honest with you, I've skipped Windows 8, so I'm not actually sure, but we're going to leave that on. Page prediction to preload pages, sure. Let apps use my name and account picture. Here I'm going to flex on that whole don't send my information rule and say yes. Also the same for the advertising. If I'm getting ads, I like them to be about things that I like, so sure, let's go ahead and leave that on. Request my location. Yes, they can request it from me, that's fine. I just want to be the one giving it, not just the system giving it out automatically. The Windows Defender is turned on. Microsoft, yes, definitely leave the, you know what, I say that, and the first thing I always do when I install a new copy of Windows is turn Windows Defender off. I'm going to leave it on for now to see how it is in Windows 10, but that may be something that you want to turn off after you complete the install and we see how intrusive it is. Now the next thing that we'll need to do is to set up your account. Windows 10, kind of like if you're using Android incorporates into your Gmail account or tries to link everything through your Gmail account. Apple does the same thing with your Apple ID. Microsoft has been slowly but surely moving toward doing the same thing with your Microsoft account, whether that be through Outlook or Hotmail or whatever type of account you may have. Go ahead and put that in here if you have one. If not, you'll need to create a new one so that you get all the benefits of having the new OS. I'm going to go ahead and fill that in here, and then I'll probably cut this part out because I really don't like giving out my personal information. Alright, then the next thing it's going to do is ask you for a backup email address. Now for this I do use my Gmail account. So it's if you already have a Gmail account and that's set up through your Microsoft account, it will pick that up. So as you can see here, my Gmail account was already linked to my Microsoft account. So it has detected that and it's going to ask you to enter that address down here just to verify that it is the correct address. I'm going to go ahead and do that, and I'll cut right back to you as soon as I've got that entered. Alright, and once you've entered your email address, it's going to send you a code to that secondary email address that you'll need to fill in here. So let me go ahead and grab that code, and I'm going to do that off screen. Then you'll just need to type that code in here. And then it's going to start setting up your account. To be honest with you, I really haven't played with Windows 10 yet. I did join the Windows Insider program about 4 months ago now, but I haven't had a chance to install Windows 10 and really get a feel for what it is. So I'm kind of at this point, I've gotten to this point, I've installed it before, but I've not actually played with it at all. What I'm going to do is I'm going to let the install complete here, just to get you guys through that final step, and then I'll go ahead and cut the video at that point, and I may come back at a later point and do a video on Windows 10, but I don't know how I feel about doing that with technical previews, since things tend to change very, very quickly with a technical preview. So I may actually wait until the full version of Windows 10 comes out, and then once that comes out, do a review on that. Still doing it within a virtual machine because I'm not replacing my Windows 7 setup until I am absolutely sure that I am ready to move to a new operating system. So now what we're going to do is just wait for it to finish installing our apps here. This should only take a couple of minutes. Shouldn't take nearly as long as that install did. That install really drug on. I'm going to go ahead and we'll fast forward through this part, and once it finishes installing the apps, we should rejoin. If I remember correctly, I've only done this one other time, but I believe it's going to take us straight to the desktop. So hopefully once it finishes installing the apps, we can fast forward through that part, and I'll meet you guys back at the Windows 10 desktop. I love how general Microsoft can be sometimes, taking care of a few things. Don't turn off your PC. Doesn't tell you what they're doing, just that they're doing something. Alright, let's start. Hey, look at that. We are at the desktop for Windows 10. Let's see here. I want to go, can I go full screen on this? I probably actually have to change the resolution. So let's set that screen resolution. Actually, let me show you what I did there, guys, just so you know, real quick. Oh, give me my little drop down bar here. Alright, so up at the top you've got your toolbar, which is a little bit different than what you're used to seeing in Windows. But if we go ahead and click that, hit the full screen, that's going to pop the virtual machine out to full screen, but you'll notice the Windows screen did not change, and it's because the screen resolution is going to be set for whatever the original resolution of the virtual machine was, which it looks like was 1024 by 768. So right now I'm working on a 1920 by 1080 monitor, so let's go ahead and set it for that and hit apply. Oh, and look at that, we have a nice full screen. Oh, yep, keep my changes, don't set me back. Alright, so we have Windows 10 running in full screen within our virtual machine. Alright guys, so actually last thing we want to do, let's go ahead and drop this out of full screen. And you'll see here you've got scroll bars now, so I'm actually going to knock that resolution back down. Oh, what do we say it was at? Was it 1280 by 768? 1280 by 768, right there, maybe. Let's go ahead and hit apply. Alright, keep the changes. Okay, really what I wanted to do is just get out of the full screen so I could do the last of the setup here. Now you'll see that when you change the resolution, your virtual machine does resize itself to be the correct size, unless of course that resize is too small for the resolution that you've chosen, and then you'll have the scroll bars like you had there. Anyway, let's go ahead, click on this. I finished installing, and that's going to go ahead and set up the last of the virtual machine. And now the wonderful thing with this is, now that we have that done, we can kick this back out to full screen, reset that screen resolution to whatever your monitor resolution is, 1920 by 1080, hit apply, hit keep changes, and OK, and we can start playing with Windows 10 from right here. Alright guys, so there you have it. We have set up Windows 10 inside of a virtual machine. I really hope that helps you guys out. If you have any questions at all, please feel free to leave them in the comments down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. My name is Frank Alexander, and I thank you very much for watching FraxTech.